Hello, my lovely fans. Welcome back to our channel and new video. I hope everyone is well and having a nice day. Before we begin the video, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Throughout my whole life, I have held the belief that some of the most significant moments in life are accompanied with a peculiar mixture of pride and grief. When you are a parent, you have the want to see your children being the center of attention in their own right. As the curtain rises, you imagine yourself sitting in the audience, clapping as loudly as you possibly can, and possibly even wiping away a few pieces of tears. However, there are situations when the picture you had in your imagination does not match up with reality. And that is precisely what took place when my son, Joaquin Consuelos, made his debut on a Broadway stage for the very first time. And to tell you the truth, I was not present to see it. Even when I speak it out loud, that sentence continues to feel weird. It is likely that individuals who are familiar with me are aware of the significance that I place on my family. It has always been my children who have been the focal point of everything that I do. Therefore, when Joaquin was given the opportunity to make his debut on Broadway, it was one of those moments that made me feel an overwhelming sense of pride. Seeing your child pursue a dream is already an emotionally charged experience. On the other hand, seeing someone truly succeed is a whole different experience. Throughout his life, Joaquin has always exuded an air of unassuming assurance. He does not stir up a lot of trouble. Announcing his plans to the world is not something he does. He simply puts in a lot of effort and advances in a methodical manner. And all of a sudden, before you even realize it, your child is standing on front of one of the most famous stages in the entire world, Main Street. Simply uttering the word holds a great deal of significance. I will never forget the moment when we were informed for the first time that he had been cast in the part. It was one of those talks that everyone in the family had in which there was a little pause in the conversation. You're taking in the information that you just heard. Next, the thrill begins to build up. What's up, Broadway? Indeed, Main Street. It was only natural that I instantly began visualizing the opening night. When I thought of myself, I imagined myself sitting in the theater, possibly clutching the program, and probably disturbing the people around me by whispering, "That's my son." This is something that every parent does. You are powerless to stop it. Becoming proud is not exactly a quiet process. However, life can be unpredictable, and it threw a curveball to us. The evening of Joaquin's premiere arrived, but I was unable to go for a variety of reasons. I want you to believe me when I say that I did not take the decision to miss that performance lightly either. As a matter of fact, it was one of the most challenging choices I've had to make as a parent in the most recent years. Your child's debut on Broadway is one of those moments that you feel you absolutely have to be there for, and it is, without a doubt, one of those moments. But there are occasions when timing, schedules, and duties come into conflict in ways that you are unable to manage. This means that my schedule is not always flexible because I am a part of the daily television audience. Those who choose to engage in live broadcasting are required to make commitments that are set in stone weeks or even months in advance. Sometimes, despite the fact that we make every effort to make adjustments for family gatherings, things just don't turn out the way you had hoped they would. Despite this, it does not make things any simpler. I couldn't help but think about Joaquin during the entire day of the performance day. I couldn't stop making mental pictures of what the theater must have looked like, the vitality that exists behind the scenes, the nerves that exist prior to entering the stage. That sensation is familiar to everybody who has ever performed. Your palms are sweating, your mind is constantly moving through each and every line and movement. Following that, the curtain is raised all of a sudden. When I thought about that moment for him, I couldn't stop. It brought to mind the time when he was younger and had just started to discover what he was passionate about. A child who has always been artistic and someone who takes pleasure in expressing himself, Joaquin has always been. As his mother, one of the most rewarding experiences has been witnessing the development of that over the course of the years. Long before the rest of the world does, parents frequently get a peek of the potential that their children will develop into. In spite of this, Broadway was not necessarily the most obvious destination at the time. To a certain extent, that is what makes this moment so extraordinary. Unanticipated events in life can occur. When one opportunity leads to another, all of a sudden, a desire that was once thought to be unattainable becomes a genuine possibility. Here he was, living it to the fullest. In spite of the fact that I was unable to be present in the audience physically, I was present in spirit. I was continually checking my phone, looking for any new information, whether it was a message, a photo, or an update, looking for anything that could provide me with a window into how the night was progressing. Those of my friends who were able to make it to the performance were nice enough to send me a few different pieces of information. One of the messages said, "He is incredible." All that was written on another was standing ovation. Imagining what that did to my heart is something you can do. Pride is not even close to being able to describe it. My husband, Mark Consuelos, was a very trustworthy source who kept me informed, so it goes without saying that I had him. When our kid took that significant step in his professional life, Mark was present in the theater to see it. The knowledge that Joaquin's father was present in the audience provided me with a great deal of solace. Immediately following the concert, Mark called me, and the thrill in his voice conveyed everything I needed to know. It was he who informed me he was incredible. That is just what each and every parent wishes to see or hear. New York City's Broadway is not an easy location to perform. It takes an extraordinary amount of talent, self-control, and commitment to accomplish this. People spend years preparing for an opportunity like that, doing auditions and waiting for it to come their way. The amount of effort that Joaquin has put in is evidenced by the fact that he has reached that stage. Yes, I do wish that I could have witnessed it with my own eyes on that particular evening. One thing about parenting, however, that is not frequently discussed is the fact that it is a challenge. At times, providing support for your child does not necessarily include being physically present for each and every moment. It is sometimes necessary to have faith in them, to cheer for them from wherever you are, and to be aware of the fact that they are capable of shining on their own. When Joaquin was doing his duties, he did not require my presence in the audience. While he was on stage, he took control of the situation. And to tell you the truth, that is precisely what we wish for our children to do. We bring them up to be able to stand on their own 2 feet, to pursue their ambitions, and to walk boldly into places where we might not be able to follow them. However, if I were to say that I did not experience some degree of mental distress as a result of missing that first performance, I would be lying. The moment that your child hits a significant milestone like that is one that you want to capture forever. You should try to seize every single moment. You want to commit to memory the precise sensation that you experienced as the lights went down and the audience became silent. However, life does not always provide us with the perfect timing. A Broadway run suggests that there will be a significant number of more performances, which is the good news. You can bet your bottom dollar that I will be a part of that audience as soon as it is physically possible for me to do so. I have already informed Joaquin that I want to join the audience at the theater with the most enthusiastic applause. Yes, I will most likely make him feel embarrassed. As a parent, you are expected to do that as part of your job description. Being able to witness Joaquin forge his own way through this moment is what makes it even more remarkable. Our family has been involved in the entertainment industry for a considerable amount of time. 2 decades of my life have been spent working on television, and Mark has had an outstanding acting career. On the other hand, we have always made an effort to provide our children with the liberty to discover their own interests. Joaquin did not experience any kind of pressure to follow a specific route as he was growing up. His decision was to do this. Moreover, it is really satisfying to observe him accept responsibility for living out that ideal. There is more to Broadway than just a career or a performance. It is a symbol of something far larger. It is a testament to bravery. Being able to tell a story through performance while standing in front of hundreds of people each and every night requires a lot of bravery. Rehearsing, refining, and pushing yourself creatively on a daily basis requires undivided attention and commitment. Seeing your youngster rise to the occasion and accept the challenge is motivating. Also, even if you are observing from a distance. For the time after the performance, I've been asked by a great number of people about it. Friends, co-workers, and those who watched the show viewed it. What happened to Joaquin, how he felt, and what the experience was like are all questions that everyone wants to know. Uncomplicated is the response. He did an outstanding job. Moreover, he had a deep affection for it. For me, that is the most important thing. It is good to achieve success, but happiness is even more vital. If your child is engaged in an activity that brings them joy on the inside, you can be sure that they are heading in the correct direction. In addition, Joaquin appeared to be in the exact same state when I chatted with him after the event. Can't wait. I am proud. Following a performance on Broadway, it is not surprising that one might feel a little weary. But above everything else, I am content. In the role of a parent, that is the true reward. Yes, I ended up missing the first show. That portion will always be a little bit painful. Nevertheless, the fact that I am incredibly proud of my son is unaffected by this circumstance. Being a parent is like witnessing a series of events like this as your children grow up. Some of them you encounter directly. After the fact, you learn about other people. However, each and every one of them causes you to experience the same overwhelming sensation. It is gratitude, thankfulness, having the opportunity to witness them develop into the people they were destined to be. And in the case of Joaquin, that path has now brought him to Broadway by this point. There is one thing that you can be certain of coming up the next time the curtain goes up and I am sitting in the audience. I'll be the proud mother who lets out the biggest applause. I've had the opportunity to work in television for a considerable amount of time. And one thing that I've realized is that live television operates according to a timetable that is rarely flexible. There is a possibility that it will appear effortless to folks when they see me on screen every morning, smiling and conversing. On the other hand, behind the scenes, each episode is meticulously planned out weeks in advance. It is possible to find a spot on the schedule for each and every segment, visitor, and moment. It was precisely this reality that brought to one of the most challenging circumstances I've encountered in my role as a mother. Joaquin Consuelos, my son, was getting ready for what would quickly become one of the most important nights of his young life. His first performance on Broadway, in front of a theater audience that was filled to capacity. He would make his debut on that iconic stage for the very first time. It's the kind of moment that a parent imagines happening a long time before it really takes place. As the lights go down, you imagine yourself sitting there in the throng, feeling the excitement start to build up. When the curtain rises and your child makes their debut on stage, you imagine the flood of emotions that you will experience. However, despite the fact that I was eager to be there, life had other plans for me. The fact of the matter is that my absence was not due to a lack of support or pride on my part. The exact reverse is true. When it comes to Joaquin, I could not have been more proud. I had a scheduling conflict that simply could not be shifted, which was a very unfortunate situation. When you work in the field of daily television, particularly live television, you are typically required to fulfill a number of duties. When it comes to filming a movie, you are not able to make adjustments to the days that you shoot. A live event takes place at the precise time that it is scheduled to take place, and hundreds of people depend on that schedule being maintained. In that particular week, my work obligations had already been decided upon. Events such as meetings, recordings, and production commitments were all scheduled in such a way that it was difficult to travel. I can very vividly recall looking at the calendar and wishing that there was some way to be able to accommodate everything. Parents are familiar with the sensation. You make an effort to rearrange things, reorganize your commitments, make phone calls, and investigate whether or if there is a method to be in two different locations at the same time. There was, unfortunately, none of it. This is the section that caused the most pain. It is peculiar since throughout the course of my work, I have been present for a myriad of significant moments. You are able to experience history, commemorate significant moments, and share your experiences with millions of people through the medium of television. However, there are times when the most significant events are the ones that are quiet and personal and take place within your own family. It was precisely that kind of moment when Joaquin made his debut on Broadway. I still vividly recall the day when he informed us about the possibility. A significant announcement was not made by him. Joaquin is not the kinds of people that expose things in a dramatic manner. Instead, he made remarks about it in a nonchalant manner, as if it were simply another day. He said, "Hey, I got the part. His name is Joaquin," at peace, modest, and intent on the task at hand. The moment he used the word Broadway, however, my heart skipped a beat out of rhythm. It's not just another entertainment location. Broadway is what it is. For a great number of performers, this is the optimal stage. The years of training, auditions, rejection, and determination that went into it are represented by this. The fact that Joaquin had finally arrived at that point indicated that he had already achieved something truly remarkable. Obviously, I desired to be there more than anything else in the world. On the other hand, the reality of work responsibilities can be cruel with some instances. The production schedules of television shows do not always coincide with the milestones of families. Given the fact that the date of Joaquin's performance was drawing near, it became abundantly evident that I was unable to abstain from my commitments. Honesty was the topic of my conversation with Joaquin. One thing that we have always made an effort to do as a family is to speak in an open manner. I did not want him to have the impression that I did not place importance on his momentous occasion. He was the one I needed to know the truth. Furthermore, Joaquin, being the serious and balanced individual that he is, thoroughly comprehended the situation. Someone shared with me something that has stayed with me. "Mom, don't worry about it. I am well aware of your pride." Everything was conveyed by that one simple sentence. There are times when your children's level of maturity takes you by surprise. They are able to see the wider picture. They are aware of the sacrifices that are inherently associated with particular professions. Over the course of his childhood, Joaquin has witnessed both his father, Mark Consuelos, and I juggle the demands of work and family. He is aware of the requirements that the entertainment industry has. Commitments that are not always able to be modified, irregular schedules, and long hours of work are all common. In spite of this, I couldn't help but wish that I could instantly transport myself to the theater on that particular evening. All throughout the day, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I tried to put myself in the spirit of what it must have been like to be backstage. The voices of the actors are getting warmer. Make adjustments to your attire. Performers are required to maintain a state of silent concentration immediately prior to taking the stage. Every person who has ever performed is familiar with the moment that occurs just before the curtain goes up. Your heart now beats more quickly. You might have some trembling in your hands. However, there is a sense of thrill at the same time. You have put in a lot of effort to get to this point, and all of a sudden, it is here. During the time that Joaquin was getting ready for that event, I was keeping track of everything from a distance. I was receiving updates from family members and friends who were able to be present at the event. The number of messages on my phone steadily increased. He is doing an incredible job. Everyone in the audience adores him. You would be extremely proud of yourself. Each message brought a grin to my face. And yeah, I will confess that a few of them stirred up some feelings in me as well. The experience of witnessing your child pursue their ambitions is one that is filled with an incredible amount of power. You have a sense of connection to that moment even when you are not physically present as it is happening. Thankfully, Joaquin was not the only person in the audience today. During the performance, Mark was present to represent our family and cheered more loudly than anyone else in the theater. Having the knowledge that his father was present and watching provided me with a great deal of solace. Immediately following the conclusion of the concert, Mark gave me a call. In spite of the fact that he had not yet spoken, I could already sense the eagerness in his voice. It was Mark who told me he was remarkable. The meaning of those words was complete. It goes without saying that I posed 100 questions. How would you describe the audience? What was Joaquin's appearance like while he was performing? Did he appear to be anxious? Does he have a significant response? After a hearty chuckle, Mark stated that the audience adored him. The only thing a mother needs to hear is that it is not the end of the story, despite the fact that I was unable to attend the first performance. As a result of the fact that Broadway runs typically consist of a number of shows, there will be additional opportunities to sit in the crowd and watch Joaquin perform. Believe me when I say that I intend to be there. In point of fact, I have already informed Joaquin that I am likely to be the most enthusiastic individual in the entire auditorium when I do go to the performance. When it comes to embarrassing their children, parents have a way of doing it, and I have every intention of continuing that legacy. However, beyond the humorous aspects, there is a more profound significance related to this time for our family. The speed with which time passes is brought home to me when I see Joaquin set foot on a Broadway stage. In retrospect, it seems like it was only yesterday that he was a little child discovering his passions and figuring out what he enjoyed doing. Now he is playing in front of audiences that are extremely crowded. Being able to witness that shift is quite remarkable. More than that, it serves as a reminder that youngsters will eventually forge their own directions. As they venture out into the world, they do it with self-assurance, following their passions, and making their own decisions. As parents, we act as guides for children as they travel through life. At some point, however, they move forward on their own accord. Joaquin's first performance on Broadway is an example of precisely that kind of step. And although I was unable to be a part of the crowd that evening, I was able to feel the pride from a great distance away. Being seated in a certain seat within a theater does not determine whether or not one feels proud. It is the experience of witnessing your child put in a lot of effort, remain focused, and pursue something that is significant. If I had been more proud, I would have been. During the days that followed the performance, I was inundated with messages from friends, viewers, and fans who inquired as to the reason I was absent from the event. Uncomplicated is the response. Commitments due to work. Having said that, that explanation does not provide a complete picture. For the reason that I was cheering for Joaquin throughout every single second of that performance, despite the fact that I was unable to physically attend. I was proud of him before he approached the stage, proud of him while he was performing, and proud of him when the curtain call was all over. On the next occasion that I have the opportunity to witness him play on that Broadway stage, I will be present in the audience with the broadest smile on my face, because situations like this bring to mind something that is of utmost significance to me. Success is not solely determined by the accomplishments we attain in our own professional lives. When you are able to witness your children achieve their goals, you will have experienced the most significant success. Thanks for watching this video, and please subscribe to our Kelly and Mark Official YouTube channel for more updated